Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The Ministry of Education has announced that SVG's total pass rate this year for the Caribbean Secondary Examination Certificate, CSEC, is 73.60%, a decrease by 1% for the corresponding period in 2023. And the school topping this year's CSEC is the Girls High School with 96.59%, a 2% decrease from last year. The St. Vincent Grammar School placed second with 91.15%, followed by St. Martin's Secondary with a 90.37% pass rate. In fourth place is the St. Joseph's Convent, Kingstown, with 85.54%. The largest entries were for English A, 1,298, and Mathematics, 1,234. And the subject with the highest percentage pass was Theatre Arts, 100%. Mathematics recorded the lowest percentage pass with 31.60%. This year, 17.2% of the students passed with grade 1, 40.67% students gained grade 2 passes, and 42.13% passed with a grade 3. No school got less than 50% passes compared to last year. The Ministry of Education highlighted Sandy Bay Secondary School, the SBSS, and Emmanuel High School, Mesopotamia, EHSM, as the most improved schools in 2023. SBSS recorded a pass rate of 55.83%, and EHSM recorded a pass rate of 45.75%. In 2024, SBSS pass rate increased to 73.64%, and EHSM pass rate rose to 61.02%. These figures represent an increase of 17.80% and 15.28% respectively. This year, 2,234 candidates were registered, and of these, 1,484 were school candidates and 750 were private candidates. The results were delayed due to what the Ministry of Education said were inconsistencies detected which warranted a review. Meanwhile, for the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, there was a 96.6% pass rate. 16 of the 23 subjects recorded 100% pass rate. And following the delayed release of the official results for the CSEC and CAPE examinations in St. Vincent and the Grenadines due to queries raised by the Ministry of Education, former candidate for the ULP in East Kingston, Luke Brown, says CSEC needs to take a closer look at irregularities. Speaking on ULP Speaks, Brown said the integrity and credibility of the examinations have to remain intact.
CSEC was recently in the news for a different reason as well. It could, you might remember that there was a public uproar of sorts when there was a move to stop or to terminate offering some subjects at the CSEC level, and I think some at the CAPE level. I think that, however, has changed. One of the subjects I think was agricultural science and so on, and I actually think that it's important for us to place more emphasis on a subject like agriculture in our curriculum, and I believe that that the Minister of Agriculture will definitely be an appropriate champion for that. That is why when we had agriculture introduced at the St. Vincent Grammar School recently, I thought that it was a positive development and a development that sheds the colonial approach to education in an important way. It was an act, I would say, of decolonizing the curriculum. You know, we have to continue to think about our school system and reflect on it and see if it is fit for purpose.
After several hours of debate, Parliament last evening passed a bill that can see persons charged $200 for unlawful possession of an intoxicating liquor while being part of a funeral procession. The amendment of the Public Order Act, Chapter 369, was brought before Parliament by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. The Prime Minister explained that there is not a ban on the use of alcohol.
But it should be noted, Madam Speaker, that if you are in the procession, in accordance with Clause 15B of the bill, that you would not commit this offense if you have the intoxicating liquor in a sealed bottle or container. And the powers of the police officer, in addition to being able to charge you for that offense, for having the in possession or consuming the intoxicating liquor, that you may be arrested without warrant, if in the opinion of the police officer, it is necessary to do so for the safety of any person.
Opposition members of Parliament did not support the bill as they argued that there are already laws in play which should be enforced. Leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, said the government should have heard from people on the issue.
That those are things that we have seen and people have commented on it, but by and large, Madam Speaker, the idea of making the response one of legislation to make an offense of the conduct is one that many people, certainly that I've spoken with, find that it is an overreach. Most of the argument that the Prime Minister has presented seems to be suggesting that this is a minor type of offense. We have similar offenses of this nature on the books. None of them, or very few of them, are ever enforced. Nobody ever deals with them. You don't hear people getting arrested or charged for public nuisance, disorderly conduct, or drunkenness, or so forth. And so that this seems to be that this would fall within that category of the type of offense.
However, PM Gonsalves said it was a call made by several churches.
On the face of it, we see what the legislation is trying to solve. It's stated in clause 15A1. A person shall not have in his possession or consume intoxicating liquor while being part of a funeral procession through a highway, road, or other thoroughfare. Then 15B says, Section 15A1 shall not apply to the possession of intoxicating liquor in a sealed bottle or container. In other words, if you're in the procession with a sealed bottle or container, it's not an offense. If it's open, it's an offense, or if you're consuming it.
Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves paid tribute to former diplomat and Guyanese politician Sir Shridath Sonny Ramphal, who passed away on August 30th at his home in Barbados. Speaking on the life of the 95-year-old diplomat, who was once the Commonwealth Secretary General, PM Gonsalves said he was the most distinguished negotiator and statesman.
In my assessment, Sir Shridath is the greatest diplomat that the Caribbean has produced, most distinguished, and the most distinguished negotiator for the Caribbean. And he's in the front rank of Caribbean statesmen and women, even though he never led a country.
Right.
He's of a different generation to me. So I observed him first at a distance, and then after I became Prime Minister, and even before I became Prime Minister, I got to know him, but very much we worked together as when I was Prime Minister on many matters.
In Parliament yesterday, parliamentarian observed a 1-minute silence, the first to be done for an individual who is non-Vincentian.
Ordinary that you would stand for a minute silence for somebody who is not a member of your Parliament. You know, you'll stand for Governors General because they're part of the Parliament. You stand for the British monarch because the Governor General represents the British monarch, who is our head of state, nominally. And of course, for any former parliamentarian or parliamentarian. But I think this is the first time in my 30 years plus as Parliament that we have stood for a someone who is not a member of the parliament.
Okay.
6 farmers from Union Island are expected to receive help through the World Bank's UBEC SVG Food Insecurity Project to restart their farming production. A team from the Ministry of Agriculture Communications Unit visited Union Island on Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, to assess the effects of Hurricane Beryl on local farmers. Agricultural Officer Alan Williams stressed the importance of bringing back vegetable production on Union Island.
Here we are at Petal Cato, better known as Catty Farm in Clifton, Union Island. She will be one of the beneficiaries of the UBEC Food Insecurity Project. After the hurricane has done so much damage to her farm, actually she's a full-time farmer. We are glad to lend support to this type of production. Actually in Union Island we want to target about up to 4 to 6 model farms to try to jumpstart production back into action, and Ms. Cato will be one of the farmers who will be benefiting from such a project. So hopefully that we will see the beds restored, there will be shade covering, black tanks for irrigation, and we want to see her start back her livelihood into agriculture, and prospectively we want her to also inspire other farmers within the island to start back planting, because we need to ensure that we have local food production here in Union Island and that farmers starting back in their livelihood, not only traditional farming but also in vegetable production and tree crop production.
Farmers related how they were impacted by Hurricane Beryl and expressed gratitude for the support they would receive.
The tank was full with water, 800 gallon tank, but that is gone. And I had some drums as well. I managed to save the drums.
So with the hurricane I got some damages. As you can see, the beds are all broken down. The black tanks are all disappear with the wind. The drums, even the pipes are all gone. So therefore,
Permanent secretaries, heads of departments and other senior public servants have been encouraged to engage and participate constructively with the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project's Project Implementation Unit on the implementation of the project. The word of encouragement has come from Director General of Finance and Planning and CAR-TP Project Director, Mr. Edmond Jackson. Jackson was speaking on Monday, September 2nd, 2024 at a Leadership Alignment and Change Management Retreat held at the UWI Global Campus. Addressing the leaders, Mr. Jackson explained that the government saw it necessary to invest 80 million EC dollars from its allocation from the World Bank to improve the services across the public service. He outlined that the program is designed to make the work of public servants better, help them deliver better services to the citizens while making it faster, smarter, and safer for persons to conduct business with the various departments of the government. Jackson noted that under the project, they are trying to create as many online citizen-facing services as possible. He highlighted that using the interim e-payment system, they have been able to accomplish a number of things.
You can now apply for your visa entry. If you're overseas and you need a visa to enter citizens online. If you are getting married and you want a special marriage certificate, you're coming in and you want to fly down to Sandals to do that, you can do that online. So that's the kind of thing that we want to do. So allow you to access the service online, pay for the service online. You don't need to come to our office and be told to go to that window, and to that window, and then that window, or to hear that person's at lunch, you have to come back. No, that's not what we want to do. We want to take the lines, as the Minister of Finance says, outside of inland revenue that happens ever so often, and put them online. We don't want people to be outside of the department. We want them to be online accessing services.
The project director also outlined the various components of the project, but especially highlighted as critical the digital infrastructure platforms and services, since it cuts across a number of departments, which include the very important digital identifier.
I mean, we tried to do this back in 2013 with a similar World Bank project called the DGRIP, but we failed miserably. We are not failing this time around. That is the resolve of the Ministry of Finance. That's the resolve of the Minister of Finance. That's the resolve of the Cabinet. We are not failing this time around. Because without a unique identifier for every citizen, it is going to be extremely difficult to determine that citizen A is actually citizen A when citizen A is trying to access services. So we need to know for sure that if Edmund Jackson logs on to get whatever service it is indeed Edmund Jackson. All right? So that's just very, very critical.
The objective of the retreat was to ensure that all leaders are aligned with the vision and roadmap of the government and through the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project CARTP, that they understand their roles and responsibilities and are committed to supporting and leading the change collectively and within their respective areas. Minister of Agriculture Sabota Caesar recently expressed concerns over the weakening of bond amongst farmers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, reflecting on past years. Caesar noted that farmers were united, which led to strong agricultural communities across SVG. The minister, who was speaking on the ULP Speaks program, recently said that times have changed.
You usually hear farmers who plant yams who sit down and say, boy, well, I got this pongs, I got that, I got this price, and I use this, I use that, where I got my planting material from, and that's the level of excitement that we want to see coming out of Operation Plant Back. I want us to be very positive, and we have to renew our trust and our faith in God, because with the uncertainties of climate change, you really have to be strong in your mind to push ahead. And we are working with the University of the West Indies. We have allocated some financing to bring in some lecturers who will be speaking not just to the technicians in the ministry, but who will be going out in the highways and the byways and speaking to the farmers and telling the fishers how the rebuilding process can be done better.
Additionally, Minister Caesar urged farmers and fisherfolk under the age of 35 to go beyond traditional farming practices, while encouraging them to not only cultivate the land, but also to cultivate innovative ideas that can lead to wealth creation through food production.
When you're in the United States of America, in Russia, anywhere in the world, the people who are producing food are some of the wealthiest persons on earth. The production of food is crucial to life and living, and I see sometimes some persons will scoff and say, well, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do this. But in terms of food production, and we are going to see a rolling out of the Solidarity Fleet expansion program. That's where we are going to purchase some vessels and to train persons, because training is very important.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, the SVG-TCCU, held its annual Education Bursary Awards ceremony yesterday, where Sharcita Mackey and Nikishia John were this year's successful recipients. Sharcita Mackey, one of the recipients, said she is thankful for the bursary, which will ease her educational financial burden.
So on behalf of us, both of us, we want to thank you for your contribution to our educational needs, giving us the opportunity to make our dreams possible, as we achieve to serve our nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You also have eased our financial burden for the next 2 semesters. I must say that this bursary is very important for us and the future generation that is coming up. To us, I want to encourage us as we go forward on a positive note. So we might have challenges and setbacks, but we should not be discouraged. Our journey, we have to keep pushing. We would reach there at the end, but don't forget, God put Him first in everything, because with God, all things are possible.
Speaking at the ceremony, Chief Technical Officer with the Ministry of Education, Dixon Findley, reiterated the government's policy to have at least one college or university graduate by 2030. He noted that they are on track to achieve this milestone and acknowledged SVG-TCCU's contribution as a significant support in reaching this goal.
Your investment is an investment for the country. And the 2 persons here this morning, you have to realize that it is our money. Well, it's your money also, because you're a member of the the credit union that we are investing in you and we expect you to work hard. I know Brother Gilbert and Sister Steele would have mentioned perseverance, but I want to add integrity to that, because it is important that you live your life to the highest standards and that you would contribute to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's very important. Education changes life. And every one of us in here this morning is a better person because of the education we would have received.
The bursary recipients were each awarded 5,000 EC dollars to assist with their academic studies. 9 new radio amateur operators from the SVG Teachers Cooperative Credit Union and NTRC have successfully completed a technician class amateur radio course. This will ensure staff is ready to handle any emergency as the hurricane season reaches its peak. This would allow for reliable backup communication system should the phone system and internet collapse following a natural or man-made disaster. The training was done bearing in mind SVG is still in the hurricane season and equipping staff to handle any emergency communication. The SVG-TCCU also ordered and received a set of handheld radios to ensure that their key members can communicate with each other. Teaching icon and nation builder Mrs. Doris Mackey scored a big century last Saturday, August 31st, 2024. Born 100 years ago, Mrs. Mackey Nee Adams has lived a full life impacting on her family, community, the nation of SVG, and by extension, through residency of many of her students, the region, and globally. Mrs. Mackey distinguished herself with children and in the classroom as a teacher. Mackey, who commenced teaching at the age of 16 years, taught generations in the same family, especially at the Sign Hill School. She is also a devout Christian and was a Sunday school teacher at the Gospel Hall Church and took over the running of the Gospel Bookstore in Kingston when her husband died in 1981. In 2007, upon the insistence of the then parliamentary rep, Honorable Mike Brown, the Learning Resource Center in her home village of Upper Cane Hall was named the Doris Mackey Learning Resource Center in her honor. Happy birthday to her.